Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting on June 6th. I call the meeting to order. Reverend Kirkpatrick is on the phone and everybody else is here. I ask everyone to stand for the pledge.
Let's all say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is the approval of the agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is that 9-0?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Ma'am, excuse me, I wasn't fast enough on the button. I do have two additions for tonight's agenda, if it please. Number one, for information only, an item, proposed policy, UCPS bathroom, locker room policy. And the second for action item, UCPS cell phone coverage issues. Why don't we try and add those at the end of, make that A, B, and C. And if I could, I'll make a
A,
motion.
B, and C, where are you looking?
8, B, and C.
8B. I can just make a set. Okay.
And I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Yeah, we don't want it under that.
Okay.
So we have.
The pleasure of the chair.
Yeah, a new, what? Yeah, I'm gonna make a 9.
9 and 10?
I'm gonna move 9. A is, which one did you have first?
UCPS, a proposed UCPS bathroom, locker room policy.
And B is cell phone
UCPS
coverage
cell phone coverage issue.
issue. Okay,
Just FYI, because the agenda's already been approved, it's going to need to be a motion to amend the agenda. We'll need a second and then a vote.
Okay. I'd make a motion to amend the agenda.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would you like me to restate my motion to add those items for the record?
I think, no, I can.
We added
Okay.
it,
All right.
yes, to 9 and moved everything down. Okay, so we approve the amended agenda? Yes, 9-0.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is the presidential scholar, Dr. Rogers.
Napoon, could you please stand beside me? Thank you. Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize an exceptional senior from Marvin Ridge High School, Napoon Garantla, who has achieved a remarkable distinction. Today, we celebrate him being named one of the U.S. Presidential Scholars. The U.S. Presidential Scholars Program is administered by the White House Commission on Presidential Scholars. It annually selects scholars based on various criteria, including academic success, artistic and technical excellence, essays, school evaluations and transcripts, as well as a demonstrated commitment to community service and leadership. Out of 3.7 million students expected to graduate from high school this year, only a select few have qualified for the prestigious 2023 awards. More than 5,000 candidates were considered, either through outstanding performance on the College Board SAT or ACT exams, or through nominations made by chief state school officers, partner recognition organizations, and Young Arts, the National Foundation for the Advancement of Arts. The Presidential Scholars Class of 2023, including Napoon Garantla, will be honored for their outstanding achievements this summer through an online recognition program. I invite you to join me in recognizing Nipun. We are proud to have such an outstanding student representing us, and we congratulate Nipun on his incredible achievement. Congratulations.
Next up, Mr. Moore.
Good evening. Today I stand before you to share an inspiring story of bravery and teamwork displayed by students from Piedmont Middle and High and a bus driver's commitment to safety. On May 10th, their school bus was involved in a collision that resulted in a dangerous situation for bus driver Steve Herring. The impact left him pinned in his seat, making it difficult for him to free himself. In the face of this distressing situation, our students exemplified remarkable composure. Our students managed to free him and help him get off of the bus. Their calmness, quick thinking, and unity played a pivotal role in assisting him and securing his well-being. Their instinctive response showcased their character, empathy, and willingness to help others in need. Unfortunately, these students are unable to join us tonight, but we will be recognizing them later this week at their schools. We are grateful for Mr. Herring's actions as well. His quick response and careful maneuvering helped minimize the accident's potential consequences. He identified the risk and took decisive action to avoid a more serious situation, demonstrating a great deal of skill and professionalism. We'd also like to thank the emergency medical services, law enforcement, and fire teams that responded to the scene, along with school administration and central office staff. The response was swift and highly effective, which is greatly appreciated. Please join me as I recognize bus driver Steve Herring from Piedmont High School. I'd also like to recognize Deputy Fire Marshal John Williams, who will also present a token on behalf of the Union County Emergency Services. Also present with Deputy Marshal Williams are Lieutenant Allen with the Union County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Chief Andrew Benton with the Union County Emergency Services, and Chief David Hyatt with Union County Emergency Services.
Steve, thank you very much for what you did.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks, sir.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. We have come to the end of another school year. We are pleased to recognize our last group of outstanding employees who have been named UCPS Influencers for 2022-2023 school year. As you know, this program celebrates the passion, dedication, and hard work of UCPS employees. Each month, our staff members, students, families, and community members nominate a UCPS employee to be recognized for the positive influences they've had on our organization. I am honored to present Danny Bailey, a social studies teacher at Forest Hills High, and Naomi Lothorpe, a lead custodian at Weddington High. I will now invite the nominators to the podium to read the submissions and be recognized by the honorees' accomplishments.
Good evening. I'm Evan Corrado, a teacher at Forest Hills High School. Coach Bailey, would you please stand up and join me? Danny Bailey inspires me by being a strong leader in the classroom and as the head basketball coach at the high school. Students love Coach Bailey, and it seems he has a nickname for each student as he greets them in the morning and during class changes. He's been the head basketball coach for 2 years, continuing to grow the program and develop young men into leaders on and off the court. His classroom is right across from mine, and he was the first person to talk to me about my goals and my teaching style. He's assisted me and another first-year social studies teacher on our hall with getting used to the ropes at the school. Coach Bailey's a consistent figure in these kids' lives, which is invaluable. He cares for the students, but still holds them accountable. He's always smiling with the staff and laughing with the kids. For all these reasons and more, he inspires me as a brand new teacher to Union County and Forest Hills High School. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Conroy from Weddington High School. Miss Naomi, will you please stand up? Ms. Naomi exemplifies what it means to be a professional. And I can look at the script and read, but I'll just talk real quickly. We have something called the Weddington Way at Weddington High School, and she exemplifies that, embodies that. She smiles at everyone in the hallway. The secret to my classroom success, if I have a disciplinary referral, I let them go work with her for a class period. And people think it's a consequence or a punishment. It's not. It's for her to bestow that wisdom, to show her that there's things that matter in life rather than just, acting silly in the class or not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And ironically, it somewhat backfires because I'll have kids come up to me, hey, can I go hang out with Miss Naomi today? No, you may do your work and stay on task and we'll get things done. But those are the reasons why I nominated her for an influencer. She's always smiling. A lot of times when we were short-staffed during COVID and then even after COVID with people being sick, she's the first one to volunteer to offer up help, the last one to ever ask for help. There's many times where if she's forgot a lunch or she's given her lunch to someone that didn't bring something, I'll try to offer it to her, but she's like, no, you need to eat first. So she's always very selfless. And that's something that I think you look for when you're looking at someone that's an influencer, when you want someone to be a role model. When my kids grow up, when I want them to be like someone, I think of Miss Naomi. So thank you.
I will now read the UCPS Influencer Proclamation from the Board of Education and Dr. Houlihan. Whereas the Union County Board of Education values the hard work of each employee within its district, whereas performance is an essential part of district operations, whereas Danny Bailey and Naomi Lothorpe exemplify the performance, dedication, and teamwork essential to the success of the district and its students. Therefore, we, the Board of Education for Union County Public Schools, and Dr. Andrew G. Houlihan, Superintendent, hereby proclaim Danny Bailey and Naomi Lothorpe as the Union County Public Schools Influencers of the month of June 2023. Congratulations. Good job.
Next up is public comments. At every regular meeting of the board, up to 60 minutes has been allotted for public comments. The board will not respond to public comments. However, a member may ask that the chair obtain clarification. Residents, parents, students, and employees of the district will receive priority on the list of speakers. If a speaker is not present when his or her name is called, the opportunity to speak will be considered waived. Only persons signed up may speak. Speakers may not give their time to another person or have someone speak on their behalf. Speakers may address the board for a maximum of 3 minutes. The board will not hear in open session 1, complaints about the performance of school personnel, 2, personnel issues, 3, confidential student issues. Should a speaker wish to seek information or share items that may not be shared during public comments, members of UCPS cabinet staff are available to address your concerns or provide information. Cabinet staff members are seated at the table to my left. The first speaker is Christopher Harbin.
Good evening. In Acts chapter 6, the early church faced its first internal crisis. The church was mainly Palestinian, but there was a growing number of Hellenistic Jews joining the community. As Greek-speaking Jews often moved to Jerusalem for their final years of life, they left behind widows who were unknown among the larger community. As the community was distributing food to the hungry among themselves, these Greek-speaking widows were being overlooked. The apostles listened to the complaint. They recognized a need. They understood how the injustice originated. They resolved to respond. They asked the complainants to present a team of 7 of their own to overtake the food distribution and resolve the unintentional injustice. We know their names. Each name is Greek. None are Palestinian names. The apostles determined not only were they the ones aware of the problem, they were also the ones for whom fixing the issue was most important. We're being told a segment of our community is facing injustice. We're being told that decisions and policy proposals reportedly made to protect children are having the opposite effect. They're causing harm to children and youth who tend to fly under our radar. A good faith effort to protect all children requires listening to the concerns of those being silenced or overlooked. A good faith effort to protect all children requires including unseen communities in the decision process. A good faith effort to protect all children requires a pause to consider who is being adversely impacted. A good faith effort to protect all children requires distinguishing angst over the unknown from real harm that impacts lives. A good faith effort to protect all children takes the time to listen. A good faith effort to protect all children would include the queer community and empower them to come to the table, to be seen, to be heard, to be taken seriously. Anything less increases injustice. It harms children. It demonstrates that we can't be bothered with responding to the needs of people whom God loves. It pits us against the very children we claim to protect.
Next up is Jen Sanders.
Good evening, Board. Okay, so consent agenda items that are non-controversial in nature can be used in a consent agenda. It is not a good vehicle for items that are or have been debated or have public opposition. This is exactly why we should have never been used for the policy 5.01. You are a new board and have the power to be more transparent in your leadership. Closed-door meetings to discuss items doesn't feel like you're being transparent or have all the students' best needs in mind. Just because you have done things a certain way for so long doesn't mean that's the right way or it should continue. Now, I'm not going to waste my 3 minutes talking about how horrible policy 5.01 is. The blowback from parents and staff as they see the real damage will come back in the end. Instead, let's talk about what we're going to do about how to protect UCPS public schools, being the main part there from this horrible voucher program, House Bill 823, that the NC legislation is pushing through. As a public school board, how are you going to keep schools public? How are you going to balance a budget that will cut the statewide money by almost $200 million by the year 2016-27 school year. This district is already struggling with enrollment numbers, as discussed at our last meeting. And we moved here for the schools. And as a board, how about we start worrying about keeping our teachers who feel attacked, protecting all of our students, and fighting to keep our taxpayer money here in our local schools. And just on a side note, we're only asked, given 3 minutes to speak up here. And I know it seems like it's repetitive every month, but it would be really nice if actual board members would actually look at their constituents while they're speaking. Thank you, Ms. Green.
Reagan, Shaw. Thank you to Reverend Kirkpatrick for voting no on the revisions to 501. We appreciate you. It's Pride Month. Members of the board, please raise your hand if you would like to join me in this moment in wishing our LGBTQ students and families a happy Pride Month. Wow. Well, have you been listening to the voices in our community? Last BOE meeting, a member compared LGBTQ orientations and identities to a vomiting disorder. Mr. Sides has said, among many other things, that a certain transgender woman's body in a bathing suit, in this case Dr. Rachel Levine, made him want to vomit. Earlier this year, a speaker in this room, when complaining about a local Pride 365 club, quoted the part of Romans that said, "Depraved minds are deserving of death." And he was applauded. These people are all active members of the Union County Moms for Liberty Facebook group, as are other members of our board. As one contributor from their group explained, quote, "Any healthy society must publicly promote heterosexuality and discourage all other forms. Either we crush them or they crush us," end quote. Can you hear the problem? Sadly, the examples are endless. Now, you guys say you don't respond to public comments unless you are seeking clarification. In the March meeting's public comments, Mr. Sides immediately sought clarification that appropriate action would be taken to address an issue presented by a speaker. Tonight, all I am asking for is the same response from you in compliance with your rules. This school year, a Moms for Liberty member complained Old MacDonald Had a Baby was too confusing because she couldn't explain to her kids how Old MacDonald came to have this baby. Quote, "Two men can't have a baby," end quote. If someone says they have a child, they're not claiming to have literally given birth to it, and they do not have a duty to provide an explanation of how they came to have that child. Two men can indeed have families in the same way as many other people have children. For example, through adoption, surrogate, fostered, or blended families, which are all beautiful ways to build families, as many of us know. All family types are valid and should be able to tell their stories without first having to explain how they came to be. Unbelievably, 4 of the 7 members of the school's media review committee decided to ban the book because Old MacDonald apparently failed to explain in the plot line how he and his husband came to initially have this baby. The media selection system at UCPS is broken if this is the kind of bigoted, garbage decision-making that it's capable of producing. This district is in desperate need of a DEI officer. Tell me right now, are you going to establish clarification with responsible parties that appropriate action will be taken to address this book ban, as allowed under your rules for public comments and just as Mr. Sides took the liberty to do in the March public comments? Or will you sit there in complicit silence because you think this discrimination is acceptable? That's quite an answer. Next up, I need a motion to approve the May 2nd and May 16th meeting minutes.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
John? Yep. Yep. Did he say yes?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. I need a motion.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Board. Last Wednesday was a very special day in Union County, especially for the eastern part of our county. On May 31st, we held a groundbreaking ceremony at Forest Hills High School for the new school that will be built on the same campus. We are all very excited to build a modern-day facility that will complement academic programming for our kids. The existing Forest Hills High School is 60 years old. and the time has come to provide an adequate facility. I want to thank our voters for overwhelmingly voting for the 2022 bond. I also want to thank our Board of Education and Board of County Commissioners for their ongoing support of this project and many more. Summer is almost here, and that means the UCPS book bus will be out and about in our community. This rolled out in 2018, has been a hit ever since. Beginning Monday, June the 19th, our bus will visit our summer reading and summer bridge camps, and we'll also make stops throughout the county. If you would like to see the schedule, take a look at our website under academics and the keyword mobile book bus. Next, we are launching a new portal to process public records requests. The portal is called Next Request. It will help staff better track and respond to public records. Beginning today, you can access that portal from the UCPS website under Communications or the Connect tab. Next week, we will hold graduation ceremonies for the class of 2023. For our traditional high schools, I'm so very proud of this class. If you all will remember, the class of 2023 were freshmen in 2020 when the pandemic hit, and they are now graduating. This is a very special group of seniors who came back strong after enduring the school post-pandemic. I want to say best wishes to all of our graduates and to their families. It's a very special time, and we all, members of the board and our administration, look forward to celebrating with you and honoring you next week. So congratulations. And finally, this Friday is the last day of school for our kids. This is a great school year. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our Board of Education, to our amazing teachers, our principals and administrators, our wonderful parents, and a great support staff. We hope you all have a safe and fun summer. Please keep reading. Please stay involved with your education in some degree. And we look forward to seeing you all back in August. Board members, this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the fiscal year 24 budget priorities. Sorry, take your time. Mrs. McLam. Sorry.
Good evening. In your packets this evening, there are a couple of documents that we are sharing with you all this evening. We've had several meetings with county staff. They've asked us to go through some of our budget priorities and list some of the, and rank some of the unfunded priorities we have on our current operating, as well as our ESSER sustainability plan and our unfunded bond projects. So what you'll see in your packet are the rankings that we've put together as a cabinet team for your review and approval, so we can move it on to the county, back to the county staff.
So, but tonight we're looking for a motion and a second to approve the priority list and to send that to the Board of County Commissioners. If you have any edits to the rankings or have any questions, we're happy to adjust or answer those.
It's down there. It's on the very bottom. Yes, there. Okay.
This is it? Final deal?
Yes. It's our final deal, but for you to review and amend if you so desire.
I think we kicked this can a couple of times.
Yes. Can you put it up on the screen? Or no? That's all we have.
I didn't
Okay.
make a slide.
Okay. Yeah, these are the bond requests.
So if you
This is
want,
what
I
we're
can,
talking about.
I was going to say, I don't mind going through real quick. So if you'll, on the first, there's a memo. The second document is the operating budget.
Mhm.
As you see on the far right side, there's check marks. Those check marks will be funded using the increase that the county has projected for us. Towards the bottom, you will see rankings. You'll see two items that are ranked number one. And then there's a 2 and a 3 along the far side there. We're still short of the total request by 7.6 million, but we are able to get quite a few of the other items that were additional needs that we detailed in the operating budget. Then the second, do do you want me to move on? You got any questions about that one? Then I can move to the next one. The second document is the ESSER Sustainability Plan. We've also ranked those. You will see 2 items there that are ranked 3. So, it's hard to find a different ranking and rank them all 1 to, so there's 8 items and we've got a ranking from 1 to 7. And then on the bond projects, you will also see a 1, a 2, and then several 3s.
Any questions? I need a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 John, good, thank you. 9-0. So next is 9, the additional items. The first one is the bathroom lock room policy. What? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry, the additional funding request, excuse me.
And I'll kick that off. So Mr. Moore is going to come to the podium. So tonight, board, we bring to you a memo that we're seeking your approval and a request to send this to the Board of County Commissioners. In discussions with county staff, we've had discussions about our 2022 bond package. This is East Elementary and Forest Hills High School. Available funds or additional funds are available for both of those campuses for additional projects as we've kind of proposed. And so the document that you see in front of you lists what those kind of wish list items would be above and beyond the current brick and mortar buildings. These are being covered from about a $20 to $21 million bond premium that the county has received. I want to be clear, our plan with any of these is not to move forward on these projects until the brick and mortar physical buildings are underway and that we have finished those projects, because we want to make sure that the actual new schools take the priority. And this would be above and beyond.
Except for the overages.
Except for the overages. But any of the other additions you see here, unless it's attached to the design of the building, would wait until the physical schools are built. That way we can make sure we have enough funding available in case we have an emergency, something unforeseen with building and construction, or anything related to soil maintenance that we couldn't predict when we were reviewing these 2 sites. So I'll turn it to Mr. Moore. He's going to kind of walk you through what our proposal is and see what feedback or comments or edits you may have.
Oh, now I got a green light. To reiterate what Dr. Houlihan was saying, these discussions kind of started as a result of dialogue with the county staff, because with the construction pricing increases, the inflation that's going on, we knew we were going to have overages. We identified those a few weeks ago and wanted to get in front of that. So that's when we got kind of the word from the county staff that there would be a bond. They felt the bond premium, although they didn't know what it was at the time, that they would have a bond premium in the sale of these bonds. So that is kind of how the discussion started, and we did develop this wish list. And what you have before you tonight are these wish lists. Again, I want to reiterate that we're not going to. We don't feel like we need to be. None of these projects will be completed until we feel certain that Forest Hills and East have the funding they need to finish their projects. And Dr. Houlihan did a good job of identifying those kind of needs. We like to call it in the construction industry of coming out of the ground. Once we can get out of the ground and we know we're safe with any kind of potential soil issues and things of that nature, we'll feel a lot better with where we are in that position. But the list that we've developed for you, you can see on it the project cost overage for East Elementary, which you previously approved on the consent agenda, was $4.5 million overage on the GMP that we have with our contractor. In addition to that, we are proposing some type of a children and women's center for this campus to work in collaboration with our HSA program at East Elementary. We've included some money for that. So we've also included money for a pre-K playground. In our project budget, we have funding for a K2 and a 3-5 playground. So in addition to those 2 playgrounds, we would want to have a playground for the pre-K center that will be housed at East Elementary. At Forest Hills High School, you see a project overage of about $900,000. which we brought to you back in May. We are proceeding with that GMP, but we have a project overage of $900,000. We also identified some priorities and discussions with the school of some needs that they felt they have. We identified the potential of an artificial turf for the stadium field, included money for that. Replacing the track, which is about 10 years old, felt like there would be a need to do that. Again, all of these numbers all these ideas are very conceptual in nature. There's things we got to identify: 6-lane track or 8-lane track. How extensive are the turf renovations? Things like that we are, we've kind of just thrown numbers at them, but we feel pretty safe with where we are with those numbers. We've also included money to renovate the 40-year-old field house that's existing there. That field house was built in the I think in the mid to late 70s. So we're looking to renovate that. We've also included money for an ag tech center. We, as you know, we have an ag tech program at Forest Hills. So this facility would work with our ag tech program at Forest Hills to identify or have areas where they could do poultry production or egg production, or have cows housed in, or keep hay. It's just things that it would relate with our ag tech program. And then we've also included some money in for a for Union County Shelter Electrical. We call it UC Shelter Electrical Provision. Forest Hills would be the Union County emergency shelter for the eastern part of the county. So this will allow us to have a generator and the switchover and the power necessary at Forest Hills High School in the event of an emergency where we could house them. Right now, that's at Monroe Middle School, and the capacity at Monroe Middle School is just not what we need to be able to accommodate that large of a population. So with that, the total of these projects is $12,175,000, excuse me, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Mr. Moore, how did we arrive at the 12,175 as our portion of the 20? Did that come from the county?
That was through discussions that we had with county staff. We identified projects that we felt we would like to do, and they kind of worked with us on what their bond premium that they would have available to put toward those projects. And I don't know if I stressed, but we can only use these funds on Forest Hills and East Elementary Campus.
Or to pay debt.
Pardon me?
Or pay debt.
Or for
Yes.
debt payment, that's correct.
That's what
Or
the
debt
county's going to do with the rest
That's
of the
right,
money.
that's correct, or pay debt.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the Children and Women's Center and why
I'll do that.
an
So-
elementary school would be a?
Sure. So, as you all know, we have a phenomenal program called Health Sciences Academy at East Elementary that feeds up to Monroe Middle and then up to the high school. And just today or yesterday, we have almost 50 students that will be in their freshman class next year at Monroe. It's the largest HSA class we've ever had, which is phenomenal. And so my point is this program is growing, right? We've had a lot of conversations about the possibilities at East Elementary, considering they're getting a brand new building, on really some economic and healthcare mobility issues that the city of Monroe residents are having. And Atrium is doing a lot of work on their end with things like urgent care clinics and those kinds of things. But the one piece of feedback they gave to us was really for the city of Monroe, there's a significant lack of access to children's health services, in particular pediatric health services. And so the idea with this is you have an on-site facility. We still have no idea if this would be detached or attached, because that was going to take a lot of work with our architect firm to try to figure out what's the best course of action. But this would serve as a location that would only be operational during the instructional day, and it would allow for two things. Number one, not just students at East Elementary, but any youth in the Monroe area that needed access to healthcare, this would serve as a place where they could come for urgent care types of needs. That's one piece to this. The second piece is to allow for another location for our HSA high school students who are doing clinical work through the community college, to have another certified location where they could do that hands-on relevant internships and clinical work that is a requirement of that program. Right now, they're all having to go to a hospital. This gives another option. Right now, they're coming to East to do work, but they're not necessarily being certified as that being clinical. It's more kind of in a volunteer capacity. So that gives it another location. And conceptually, Atrium has agreed to provide the staffing in terms of nursing, nurse aides, physician's assistants, and those kinds of folks. And so there will be no employee cost to us. So we think it's a great opportunity for our kids and for our families in Monroe to have another point of access for healthcare.
I guess I might be getting too far in the weeds, but who would pay for facility upkeep and all that? Atrium or us?
Yeah, so the facility would be ours. It would be, ours to maintain. It would be our scope. But in terms of safety and security, we've had conversations. Mr. Novak was part of that conversation today with Monroe PD, kind of evaluating this as an idea. And they presented no concerns, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, but they presented no safety concerns on their end. And we think that for our community, this would be a pretty cool thing to have.
Do they stock the building, or is that ours, or the furniture, or?
So this dollar amount would cover the brick and mortar, the furniture, the technology. Atrium would be, and conceptually would be responsible for all of the medical stuff, like the equipment, the medical equipment and the staffing. But yes, the figure here, part of this would be the equipment, the technology, and those kinds of things.
So urgent care type care.
Right.
So like sick children are going to be brought to an elementary school for care?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
very
concerned with this. I don't know how I feel about that because it's kind of, you're saying that Atrium, like who's in, I know you're saying that it's the Atrium staff is they're employing or whatever, but that just seems a little concerning to me. It's during the day, so I mean, parents are aware. I mean, what happens if there's emergency? I don't know. That seems very odd to me that it's kind of set up in a school. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
So,
Yeah.
so a few things. One idea is that this would be a separate from the building, right? Like you would have any other kinds of clinic or an urgent care. But it would be on the footprint of probably where the current East is located. When that is demolished, this would be kind of a center that would be possibly positioned there. Those are all kind of to be determined because we haven't met with the architect yet. We haven't done any of that work. Secondly, if it was attached to the building, it would have a separate entrance. There is no way that the community could come into the school. It would be secured by the SRO on site. So that kind of piece is no different than a child who's sick going to the nurse inside the building, but there would be clear delineation between this on-site kind of facility and the school. So we would not allow anyone in that clinic to come into the building either.
I guess I'm sorry. I guess that's where I'm confused. I don't see. Maybe I'm not understanding. I don't see the purpose, a necessity for that. I guess maybe I don't understand what the actual purpose is to put that there.
Madam Chair, could I offer a motion that might help everyone? It sounds like there are some questions. I have some questions also. I support having been out to Forest Hills yesterday, I support items on here, but also has some other
Mr.
questions.
Sides, right now we're talking about East Elementary.
Right.
So,
Well,
but-
I'd like to offer a motion, and
Well,
that was
wait.
part of it.
Well, he's presenting it, so they're asking questions of Dr. Houlihan and Mr. Moore.
Could I offer a motion so that we can have discussion? If there's a second?
Aren't we having discussion now?
Yeah.
Can I offer a motion that might clarify for folks?
What would be the purpose of the motion?
My motion is to approve the project cost overage for East Elementary and Forest Hills High right now, and to review and continue work on the other items added, suggested by staff. Do we have a long-term commitment to the funds from the county? If we don't commit today, do we have their commitment that these funds will be available?
In those communications we had.
Sorry, Mr. Moore, we have a motion.
Okay.
And we need a second, or we need to not have a second and move along. Okay.
But the motion.
I don't hear a second on it,
You get a
so
second.
the motion failed.
Okay.
Dr. Houlihan,
Yes.
We didn't.
was there someone speaking before me? I'm sorry, it's kind of
I'm
delayed.
sorry.
So I don't
Was
know
there a
if somebody-
second?
No, there wasn't.
No, okay, so we're still sitting here. Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Dr. Houlihan, so, the question that Ms. Green, and, Ms. Moriel brought up about, keeping the students safe as far as having this facility. So you said that there would be no access from students into this part of the wing, correct?
If a student in the physical school building were ill or needed care, they would go to the nurse, just like they would now. This would be a separate facility or an attached facility. The vision of this is that if you have a family or a child whose mother needs to find some access to health care, envision that this idea of when they drop their child off at school, when they bring their child to school, they can go right there and get on the spot care as opposed to having to find another location. That's just one example. But they would have to be accompanied by a parent into that facility. If a child was in the school with no parent, then obviously they would just go to the nurse, just like they normally do.
Dr.
Right,
Houlihan, this really
okay.
sounds like a Department of Public Health, not a Board of Education proposal. Like, I understand there's funding, we have property, it has to be used on that property, but it doesn't sound like the best use of funds on.
I agree. I don't think that, I understand what the purpose of it, what you're trying to do, or what you're trying to come off with this, but I feel like it's, like Joe said, or Mr. Morrell, excuse me, I feel like that's a more of a health department issue. That's not something that I feel that the Board of Education or we need to add that onto our plate. I don't know if that sounds the right way to say that. It seems a little concerning to me. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this.
So this would be atrium, right?
Correct.
But it's on our facilities and we're
Well, I
using our
understand that. I was
funds.
just
Oh,
saying
yeah,
that
yeah.
we don't have to have the health department in, but because we're doing atrium. But
I
the
understand.
issue, I understand. I'm just,
It just seemed, I mean, isn't that's what the purpose is? You're trying to use overage or funds for
Right.
that purpose? It doesn't seem like the best use of those funds.
how many acres is East Elementary?
I would be speculating if I answered that, but I'm thinking it's between 12 and 15 acres.
So we're going to put an elementary school and this building on there?
Yeah.
And parking for both? And-
Again, it's conceptual in nature
And
now, and
playgrounds?
we have real on high level had conversations with the architect about some possibilities for locating on the site. It is a tight site. There's no question. It's a very tight site. But we're, with the size building that we're looking for, we're identifying potential locations on the site that this building could go.
And we do have a hospital right around the corner, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yeah.
Sarah was wanting to say something. I'm sorry. I saw you trying to get in.
Well, I mean, that's the point, is that like we had a hard enough time building a new east because it is so tight there. And we're trying to put a field in the front. I mean, maybe they want something else, like a track or something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe there's something else educationally have we talked to the principal and thought about that? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Moore. Go ahead, Reverend Kilpatrick. I'll go next.
Yeah. All right. So this project, how long has this been, I guess, in conversation before it came to us tonight? Is this just something that came up within the last couple of weeks, or has this something that has been in the down the pipeline for a minute?
I don't recall when the bonds were sold, but it's been just 2 to 3 weeks. It's not been a very long.
Okay.
We had to throw some numbers together pretty quickly when the county identified these funds.
So when do we have to tell the county what we're going to use this money? Do we have a couple weeks so that we can look into more of this? Or
Right, we knew we needed to request the overages. We've got the overages that we have, the
We
four and a
can do
half
that.
plus 900,000.
right?
The desire of the county staff was that we made one ask to their county commissioner, their board of county commissioners.
Well, their next meeting is on the 15th. When is it? No, 6th, 5th, 20th, 19th, the 19th.
Yes, probably the 19th.
It's the 19th.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this here is an excellent idea.
It's a what?
Excellent idea. This is an excellent idea. The ability to write as part of our desire to educate, we can also help. And I can envision folks from the community having the ability to know that there's a place where they could simply just go for help, services. And so I like the conceptual idea. I mean, we're more than willing to discuss particulars, but I think that this is what you call next level thinking, providing an opportunity for these types. And as Dr. Houlihan has so articulately pointed out, it's not about being able to cross over of the Dan that child gets picked up by their dad or mom and taking over to that facility to receive help. And then other citizens of the community would be able to, they would have to go, some could walk to this facility. I just think that it's a great idea, and I'd be more than willing to discuss, but I can see what you all saw in this.
Mr. Moore, who was involved in coming up with this list? And were there items that did not make the cut?
No, we as staff, we were, as I mentioned, just a couple of weeks to prepare, and we just discussed as a maintenance group and as a cabinet staff to just try to figure out if there were needs on these two properties, what would they be? And yes, there were things that were not eligible that we weren't able to do because of the way the bond is written, that it has to be used on the Forest Hills project or the East Elementary project.
I'm sorry, I have another question. But how did y'all come up with this particular thing? Why is this particularly a need specifically in that area? And you know what I mean? Is there a high like statistics for sick children? I mean, I don't live in that area. I don't know that district as well. I'm just kind of curious why come up with this particular
That particular project.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was related to enhance the HSA program, and Dr. Houlihan, you could.
Both the Ag Tech Center and this, the idea started with the conceptual belief that anytime we have the possibility to align academic program with real world relevant hands-on learning opportunities for our kids, that we should always strive to do that. That's what makes us a world-class school system in many regards. So that's one piece of it. The second piece of it is the conversations with Atrium Health about what they see on their end as a partner in terms of the lack of access to especially to pediatric services for members of the community right here in Monroe. That if we ever had the opportunity to do something different or to provide another option, could this be something that could be integrated and aligned to that? So that's kind of really the two reasons why this came up. We did vet all of this with our cabinet staff. We did discuss this with principals of the two buildings. We did discuss this with our CTE department, and they gave feedback. So it was a significant amount of stakeholders we felt that contributed to this in the last couple of weeks. And I'll be clear, like all of this is conceptual, right? We may get into a situation with the design firm of the East Elementary and realize we physically can't do this. And we will always come back to you with updates on that. But the conceptual idea is the funding is there, and we'd like to use it in some capacity that makes sense, both for the school system, the schools, and the community.
And our students in this program would have the ability to go there and learn their craft right there. It's almost like an additional campus of learning. So But that was Mr. Price, and it's one of my questions, but I have a second one, and that is this. Shouldn't every track rebuild, this is coming from an old track coach, so I'm biased, but shouldn't if we're gonna build a track at any of our schools, should they not always be 8, so that particular school will always have the ability to host regionals?
I mean, that's a different subject for a different time, but the nutshell is if you have an 8-lane track, you're going to be expected to host a regional track event. A lot of schools don't want to host regional track events because they don't possibly feel like it's like they're money makers for them. They would rather have a 6-lane track and not be pressured because there are so few 8-lane tracks. They won't be pressured into that. But those are discussions that we have with individual schools on a case-by-case basis.
All right,
I have
thank
a
you.
question. Is it easy to get our property at East and put where we're going to be? Because the architects has already do the new school. So why can't we see whether or not this is going to work on this property?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
I mean, that's what I was hoping to hear.
Yeah, we have not had the time to develop that. And I want to stress that you approved a GMP for East Elementary earlier tonight, and you approved Forest Hills Elementary last month. We are not asking you to approve a medical building. We're not asking you to approve a track. We're not asking you to we're asking you to approve requesting funding to the county commissioners for those projects. And then those projects will be individually brought to you for approval because you approve the plans and you approve the contracts. If we get in, as Dr. Houlihan was saying, and we start going into the design and code says, well, you got to have an opening between this building and your front office, and you can't close that off. Well, and we don't have any other options. We're not going to bring that to you because we don't want that. That's not the condition we want. Mr. Novak's conversation with Monroe today, we don't want that kind of condition. So we haven't dug deep into it. We've thrown a lot of darts, and we've done a lot of trying to put some things together in a short amount of time because of this premium becoming available. We're not asking you tonight, I don't think, Dr. Houlihan, not to step, but we're not asking you to approve these projects. We're asking you to approve the funding and let us see if we can do these projects.
And how long would it take to get back to us whether or not we can do these projects? I mean, we have to spend a lot of money to get to that point, or can we?
We can do.
I guess the turf, yes, I get that. The field house, got it. But the big thing is the clinic center. So we would need to know if that would go on there or not, because we want to make sure that there's enough playgrounds and all that stuff at the school.
I think as Mr. Moore said, we would move as quickly as we could to sit down with the architect firm and the design team, on each of these projects, but it would ultimately have to come back to facilities and then back to the full board for approval.
Or in your discussion, was anything mentioned about liability if we went forward with this building? If we own the building?
With the medical building?
Right.
No, nothing was brought to our attention.
Liability, that would be a Patria, because we're not the.
Well, if this facility related liability would
Yes.
fall under us.
That's true.
I feel like this is being very specific we're just asking for funding. Like, this seems very well thought out. Atrium's already the partner. Like, I don't feel comfortable with the way it's being proposed.
Okay, Mrs. May had her, hey, hold on.
I mean, that was my question is, what are you asking us to approve tonight? Are we approving this? And that means if there's money, we're going to do this center if we say yes tonight?
We're approving that we go to the county commissioners and get the $12,175,000. We got to the 12 million number with this list of projects. You're not approving the list of projects. You're approving the funding. Ms. Marsh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're approving the funding tonight. We are not asking you to approve the projects per se. These are the lists that make up the $12 million. And then.
Well, what happens if we find we can't do one of the projects? Are we going to have to go back to the county and say, okay, we're not using this funding, or ask if we can divert it to another project?
That would be my recommendation if we get to that point, yes.
Well,
But that's the other thing you're saying. That's why I don't understand. I'm so confused right now because you're saying that you're going to you're asking us to approve the request for overage to go to the Board of County Commissioners.
Those definitely have to be done.
Absolutely, I
Because
get
that's
it.
in
But
the-
you're going to them with these specifics. So they're gonna say, okay, yeah, you're asking them specifically for a children and women's center. So you're asking for that money to go towards that. So to me, like Mr. Moriel said, that seems very specific towards that. That's why I don't feel comfortable saying yes to this.
So in
Because I'm
concept,
not-
you are asking us to approve these items in concept.
Yes.
And there may be something that comes up either during the Forest Hills or the East construction, or as we get further into these other projects that may negate the possibility to do them. They might be a viable option.
We could start grading operations at East Elementary, hit bad dirt, hit rock. We could be encountered with a $750 million soil remediation issue. And then
It blows it all up.
But we've got this money there. So instead of us coming to you and saying, hey, how about approving this $12 million, go ask county commissioners, we can get $12 million to use for whatever we want to. We wanted to give you a list that would show you that $12 million.
But what I'm hearing from some of the others, they have questions and concerns about the Children and Women's Center. And so to ask to approve in concept, I think that's the struggle some are having.
I'm not knocking the project. I think it's a great idea in essence. Like we said previously, I don't know how I feel. I feel not quite comfortable that it's where it's being placed, what the funds are being used for in this particular. It seems like a liability regardless if Atrium is highly involved. It seems like a big liability to have for Union County Public Schools, in my opinion. But again, that's my thought.
Okay, this is what I'll offer about the funding piece. So like Colin mentioned, in conversations, the funding number that we've come up with and the project list that we've presented is based on funding allocations that the county and staff have agreed to, right? So we, like Colin said, you put the project list together. This is a way for us to have an allocation in a budget line before they take their bond premium and pay towards debt. This is the dollar amount that we've agreed on. So the list of projects we can continue to work through. We can, because like you said, there's always been in every bond issuance that we've ever done, there's always some fluctuations where there's some unexpected something that has presented a struggle. So having this as part of it from the get-go included in the budget, but allowing us the ability to come back to you with that list and the contracts for approval, it can go through facilities, it can go through all of that, but this allows us at least having conceptually, and I understand your concern, but this would be a budget allocation at this point.
So you're just saying that we can just do some kind of motion to request the 12 million and change in funding from the bond premium, and at a later date decide how exactly it would be
Right.
utilized.
Once you get to the point where
overages.
you know you have additional funds, like what is that number going to be? Because there could be unexpected things
Right,
and this
right.
number could change, right? Yeah.
But the overall ask is 12 million.
Correct.
And
Well,
as soon as
no,
we're sure.
Right, but we have two overages that we want the money now because we need it for the,
Right, we're requesting the 12 million. The overages we want
right.
immediately,
Yes.
which was my motion, and the other 12 million minus X to be filled in at a later date, which I'm sure the county will need to approve. So it is not necessary in concept to approve these projects tonight, except for the overages and the overall dollar amount. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's just the money we're approving.
But the 5.4 is definite for the overages. We want to say
That's
that
correct.
because we want that 5.4 million to go to the overages. So our construction people can get going on this, right? 'Cause
Correct.
that's what we, yes.
So just, the difference in the 5 million and the additional 7 to make up the 12, those are just ideas. And
Okay.
so we have time to work through them and to come back and to properly vet them with the board.
Okay.
So they're just ideas of kind of, that we've all generated. And in partnership with our partners, we will come back to you all.
All right.
So all you're doing tonight is asking the county commissioners for the additional funding of the 12 million. That's it.
There could be variables of, we could have unexpected surprises at East or Forest Hills, or we don't particularly agree to all these projects, or another project is inserted in its
Yeah, a
place.
greater project.
Correct.
All right. So would it be appropriate to offer a motion to request from the county, from the bond premium, the amount of $12,175,000? Is that an appropriate motion?
I wanted to say that we're going to use the overages right away from the 900
With immediate
and the
access.
4.5. I want that in the
right.
motion.
Let me amend the motion to include immediate access.
You didn't have to amend it because you can
Well,
start over. if you
amend,
want.
all right, I'll
Okay.
start all over. Total ask from the county, from the premium of the bond sales is $12,175,000. This to include immediate access to the East Elementary project cost overage of 4.5 million and project cost overage at Forest Hills of 900,000.
Yes.
Does that sound about right? Okay.
Second.
Can I ask one more question too?
Please.
Okay. Mr.
If the
Helm?
money is unused and we don't use this for it, does it just go down to pay debt?
Yes.
Okay.
But it has to be used for on these two properties.
Has to be
Correct.
East, Forest Hills, or debt.
Yep.
All right, we got.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Did I have a second?
Would you-
Second.
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John, nine, vote?
He said aye, yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay. Next up is additional items. A, bathroom lock room policy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to, for information only, offer the following policy for consideration by the Policy Committee and ultimately this board. Policy reads, and shall I have a copy for you? And also for Donna. Students will utilize the bathroom/locker room of their biological gender, or the school will provide access to a one-person unisex bathroom. Biological gender is defined as the gender listed on the student's birth certificate at the time of registration. In my opinion, this is a matter of student safety and privacy, and I'll withhold any other comments to the appropriate committee meeting.
Okay. The next is this is just for FYI, right? So the
Yes,
next
ma'am.
item is cell phone coverage issues with Weddington and Piedmont.
Well,
Place.
we had, at the last Facilities Committee meeting, Mr. Parker provided an extra presentation about some of the challenges on our campuses for cell phone service. We spoke specifically about Weddington and Piedmont, and there may be others. He provided information about how we have developed our own network for voice and text on the campuses, but there are still holes in coverage that we're trying our best to fill, but still that's not the same as having full cell coverage. There's still significant gaps. To date, attempts by our staff, our chair, Ms. Heintel, and our previous chair, Ms. Merrill, to get the carriers to address this situation have been unsuccessful. So I'd like to offer a motion that a letter be developed with staff and leadership, signed by our leadership, and sent to the appropriate contacts at the major carriers. Send it to Mr. Verizon, send it to DPI, send it to our legislators, anyone that would be appropriate. And as a official request by the Board of Education for the carriers to address this situation. This is a student safety issue, and I feel it should be addressed by the
Mr.
carriers.
Sides, after the, was it facilities meeting?
Yes.
I told you that I will send a letter to all the phone companies.
Do you, would you like to have a motion approved by the board to authorize such a letter?
Sure.
I'll offer that motion.
Second.
Is there a second?
You just
Yes, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
But those were for FYI, and now we made a motion.
No,
No, that was
Oh, the second one was
Yeah.
motion, okay. Next up is, the policies. for review.
I'm here, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. You have 5 policies for review on tonight's agenda, one of which is a new proposed policy. And I can answer any questions if anyone has one. Thank you very much.
Next up is board comments.
Madam Chair, I want to join Dr. Houlihan in congratulating the class of 2023 and to also commend staff, principals, assistant principals, custodians, the whole team UCPS on a great 2022-2023 school year.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I really hate that I'm not present, but I'm out of town for work. But nevertheless, Sarah, I miss you sitting beside you. But I'll see you real soon. But I would like to say on behalf of District 1, I'm proud of all of Union County Public Schools, but I'm very proud of District 1 and the schools and faculty and staff that make up our district. We have so many challenges that a lot of our students and teachers and administrators have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And they have continued to
Hello?
Did we lose them? Oh,
but
there you are.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You're breaking up.
Okay. There's a storm here in Atlanta, so I'm not exactly sure if that's the cause of it. But I just want to say again that District 1 has done exceptionally well. They have worked hard this school year. Our teachers, our faculty, staff, the students have persevered through some very challenging times into the class of 2023. I stand with Dr. Houlihan and Reverend Benson. I am proud of the work that you have done. Our schools have done well from CATA with our theater department, the awards that they have won from Teacher of the Year from Monroe Middle, our Coach Sal, and all of the schools, even if you have not had a form of an accomplishment that has been presented publicly, you all have accomplished another school year. And so I'm just glad to know that we have made it this far and that we have great things in store in Union County Public Schools. And always remember that you have individuals who are rooting for you, who are encouraging you to do your very best. And again, I'm very proud of each and every one of you, and I'm looking forward to what 2023-2024 school year will look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll second those comments. I
Yep.
appreciate everybody's hard work this year, students and staff, and I hope you have a great summer.
Next is announcements. We have a policy committee on June 20th, 8 a.m. Zoom.
June 27, finance, if to be determined.
The Strategic Planning, Technology, and Transportation Committee is scheduled to meet June 28th if needed.
Facilities is June 28th at 9 a.m. and curriculum is at 10 a.m. on June 28th.
Okay? And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.